guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel, Jack of Trades. In this video we're going to do another channel update for the month. It has been incredibly busy on our channel with all the things that we've worked on the last month, and we're going to try to go over those things and kind of touch on some of the highlights. So where to start? I guess one thing that I don't have in front of me is the enclosure that I built for my 3D printer. So I finally got that finished. It's basically just a box that goes over the printer. I'll throw up a picture of it. But what it does is it allows me to run filaments that require hotter temps, both bed temps and nozzle temps. So I got that done. It's installed. I've started printing nylon for the RC5 project. And yeah, it seems to be working okay. So moving on, I got all this stuff in front of me, so maybe I can just kind of go through it and get it out of the way. So this is a cute little kit that I saw. I didn't know anything about this, and I saw it and I picked one up. This is the Tamtec Gear GBO1 chassis. It's basically a 1/16 scale RC car kit. It's kind of a cool little kit. It's modeled after a buggy, but they do make kind of a truggy kit for it where you can get kind of the larger front wheels. They also make it as I think an RTR kit. And these are like, if you can find them, they're about $70 or $80 for the kit. And then you gotta figure out what to do for a body because it's basically just a rolling chassis. I found the truck body. I think I got this from Tamiya USA for the kit. However, you do need the body kit to make this body work. I think I'm just going to figure it out and print up some body mounts for it because as far as I can tell, the body kit for this is either discontinued or it's just super impossible to find. So this will be a fun little project, or who knows, I might give it to my kids to do. I don't know, but I thought it was cute, so I picked one up. That out of the way. The Ultima. We've severely fallen behind on this little car that we were going to build until we got stuck with the RC5 project. So this actually I got held up because I saw some videos and there were some upgrades that were recommended where you basically replace the ball diff with a gear diff, and it requires a bunch of Kyosho parts to do that, which basically there's like 4 or 5 different parts bags that you got to get, and they're not all available from Kyosho USA or local hobby shops, so you're kind of looking all over the world for them. But you've got kind of the diff housing, the metal gears diff housing, and this is for the buggy specifically. Then you've got the outdrive cups, and you got the gears, and then also you've got the upgraded shocks that they recommend. And they being one particular YouTuber who did a great review and upgrade on it. At the moment, I don't recall his name, but I will throw it in the I'll throw it in the bottom of this video. Shout out to him and the information that he provided in his video. I kind of went with what he recommended so that when I do build it, I won't have any problems with blowing out my differential. I also picked up a brushless, the Le Mans 240S motor and speed controller, so we'll put that in the car. And what else did I get? Oh, and I have a Protec servo. I actually had this laying around, so I thought why not throw it into the car. So this is a low profile servo, so I hope it's probably more servo than what this car needs as far as being fancy, but I had it, so we're going to use it. So anyways, when I get some free time, which is never, I will build this car. This is going to be the first on my list of new cars to build, of the new cars that I have to build. This will be the first one that gets built. Alright, get that out of the way. So, the speedrun cars. I don't think I've talked about these in a while. I don't even know if I did. I didn't do a closeout video on the TTO2 challenge from Poi Boys RC. But I ended that run taking second place, kind of on a technicality, with 117 miles an hour. There was a faster car, but he didn't get good video, so it didn't count. At that point, that guy is now the fastest guy. I think he's got like 127 miles an hour or something, where Mitchell's got 124. I'm just kind of throwing numbers out there. I don't remember off the top of my head, but I think right now the world record is Detours RC, and then Mitchell. I forget the name of his channel. I'll throw that again in the description, or I'll throw that down below as well. He's got 124, I believe. So I did my run at 117 miles an hour, and it kind of ended in a crash, but I was able to drive away from it. I was running an aluminum prop shaft and I had sheared it. So I've since then machined a titanium prop shaft for this. It's a large diameter, so it won't whip. And then I actually made a one-piece bottom plate for the chassis. I ran the plate all the way to the front of the body to the rear as far as possible, and I tried to close in as much area around the wheels as possible as well. Actually, I did a little too much, where I have to kind of come back in here and trim back some of this material. But I'm hoping that this will kind of help with aero and help prevent me from taking off. So this kind of needs to get cleaned up and I can run it again. I'm hoping, my goal is to hit 120 miles an hour with this car. I think it's possible if I can keep it on the ground. And then I have a new body. This body's pretty trashed. So I've got a new body that I'm going to use for it. So there's that little project. And then in the middle of doing the TT02 Speedrun Challenge, I went ahead and ran my Lunchbox Challenge as well, which is from the previous year for Poor Boys RC Speed Challenge, Speedrun Challenge. And I ran this guy recently at 59 miles an hour, so that is a record for the Lunchbox / Midnight Pumpkin. I guess this is the CW01 chassis. And so I've kind of retired the car in the sense that there's no, until someone comes out faster, there's no motivation to run this. And so I wanted to do a proper body for it. And I was kind of, if you piece together all the body parts needed to build the body, it gets kind of expensive, so I was kind of just sitting and waiting for the right parts to show up. And so finally I've got, and actually if you go to Tamiya is probably, Tamiya USA is probably the cheapest place, but they just don't have things in stock. And so I finally got a hold of the body. There's a couple, and then you've got the chrome pieces, the chrome tree. And actually, this is a vintage original chrome piece kit. It's got the X Tamiya. So the Tamiya trees that start, or part numbers that start with an X, like this is an X10036, but the X is kind of old school vintage original trees. But this is the, I got this in a lot of parts that I got from a hobby shop that was going out of business. I think I picked up like a box of like 250 vintage Tamiya parts bags. So that was a cool little find. I have a video on that coming out at some point. If you're interested in seeing it, let me know. And then the windshield piece as well. And this is also a vintage part. This is X10038. And that's what you need to make up and the body, of course. And that's what you need to make up the body. So I'd like to do a proper body on this car. I haven't figured out what theme I'm going to go with. But at least I've got the parts for it. Alright, now getting into our RC5 project. So last week, which was the end of week 3, I posted a running video of this car built up with an acrylic chassis, and I got about 3.5 minutes of runtime before I broke something on the chassis. I actually sort of repaired that chassis, but you know, it's still acrylic and it's still probably not going to last very long if I keep running it. So I went ahead and bit the bullet and made the aluminum chassis this weekend. So this is the end of week 4. We now have an aluminum chassis, and we've started printing parts in nylon as well. So the other thing that I broke on the car were the rear arm mounts. I kind of split one in half, and so I went ahead and printed that in nylon. But yeah, the big thing is the chassis. So now we have an actual nose piece and then a bathtub chassis out of 1/8 inch aluminum, 5052, age 32. So the nose piece, I accidentally grabbed 6061, and in the process of bending it, it cracked. You can't bend 6061 T6. It cracks. It's not meant for bending. So I had to go back and weld it. I actually cracked it on this this last bend for this kick up here. So I filled it in, welded the front, sanded it down, and I welded on the back side as well. So that should be fine for now. I'll probably make another piece out of 5052. And then for the bathtub, I basically did a lower plate and then the side panels separately, and then I welded them on. And I use the term weld kind of liberally. I am not a welder. I've been practicing welding for the last, I don't know, probably 30 years. But I don't do it regularly enough to be good or to call myself a welder. I can make metal stick together. That's the extent of what I can do. I haven't welded aluminum in probably over a decade, so it looks like boogers on metal. But you know, it's good practice. It's not something I would brag about, but it'll hold up fine. So on this chassis, I welded both on the outside and the inside, so I think it'll be just fine on durability. I'm probably going to go ahead and sand back the outside to blend it in, and then I'll put a nice little radius on that bottom corner before we anodize the chassis. I don't know if this is going to be the chassis that I go with, or if I'll make another one where this is kind of the runner and practice chassis, and then I make a real one and maybe spend a little bit more time on the welding and the prep work. But I've kind of got the processes figured out for building the chassis, and it actually went pretty straightforward. I think I've got about a day and a half from having raw materials to what we see now as a chassis, so it doesn't take that long to build up a chassis. Especially most of that time was figuring out the processes. One of the challenges was bending 1/8 inch plate, which I don't have the equipment for really. Just for giggles, I threw it in that little 3-in-1 bender brake that I have, and obviously it didn't work because that thing's meant for like 40 thou, and this is 3 times thicker than what that machine is meant for. But what I do have is a 20-ton press. So I made a series of, I don't even know what you call these, if they're called anvils or dies or whatever, but basically I made some tools for breaking the sheet metal. I think breaking is a term used for bending. So you've got kind of the form or die, I guess. I don't know what these are called. I don't know the technical terms for these. So I got 2 of these guys of different spacing and size, and then I've got the anvil. I'm going to call it the anvil for basically pressing the materials. So I basically come in here where this is fixed, and then I come in with a hydraulic press and I push down, and then that gets me to bend the metal, and I control the angle of the bend. And then I also control the radius by my anvil. So in the nose piece, all my bends use an 1/8 inch radius, so I have this little 1/4 inch rod, which I then use to press into this to get my bends. On the side panels, most of my bends are 662 radius, so I use 1 3/8 rod, and I use that to press. And then this actually works with both this guy and this guy. And this guy, it's limited in how much angle you can get out of it, but a lot of the bends I was able to use this. The advantage of this is the closer these are together, the less you're going to get. You're basically going to have straight edges that come to that bend, whereas the further apart you get, it'll kind of it'll have a progressive bend as you get to the actual radius. So that worked out pretty well. One of the things that I tried out in my CAD is I took these panels as bent up pieces and I flattened them out, and in the process of flattening, the software figures out kind of how much the material stretches and shrinks, and it gives you an exact length. And it's kind of important on these side panels because I have features on the beginning and the end that need to line up. So when I put all these bends in, the part's basically cut out ahead of time, and then when I put all these bends in, it has to line up and be the right length. And I was kind of wondering if it would work in the end, and it actually did. So the software actually tells you where the middle of the bend is as well. So I marked out the bends on the plate, and I did the bends, and then I measured the angles, and I tried to get them exact as possible, but I also used the bottom chassis plate as kind of a gauge to see if they were good, and I tweaked it from there. But once I had all the bends and the plates are fitted, they basically, the length was perfect. Like it went from the beginning where it needed to all the way to the end. So it wasn't too short, it wasn't too long. I mean, there were some errors and it was more in my bends than anything, but it was on the order of like a 1/16 of an inch. and I was able to kind of nudge things around as I tacked everything in place for welding. So I was really happy with that process, and using that feature of the software to basically take sheet metal parts and flatten them out and have basically a 2D profile of what to cut out, and then you can go back in and form it once you've cut it out. I did cut these out on my CNC router. My mill doesn't handle parts this big. So that was kind of an interesting process. The router is not really meant for aluminum, but I have used routers in the past for aluminum. So it's just kind of it's noisy, and it's messy because I don't have an enclosure for my CNC router. So my room with the router has a bunch of chips all over. I need to go back and clean it up. But it was a very productive weekend. We got some tooling that we can use now for bending kind of thicker plates. And we have a process for making these chassis. I think I did price it out. There's a company called Oshkosh, which I've mentioned before, that will do sheet metal parts. I sent these parts out for quotes, and what they do is they actually have kind of a finite number of dies for the bend radius, and so they tweak the part and give you the radius that they have from their die. And I don't really like that, because the bend radius is very kind of specific to how it fits to the lower plate. So if I were to order the parts from Oshkosh, I would order them as flat pieces, and I would do the bending myself. And the advantage of that is actually buying those kind of pre-cut parts with the holes drilled is cheaper than me buying raw material, if you can believe that. So I might go that route if I make more chassis. I basically bought enough material to make 2 chassis, and once after that I'll probably buy those parts from Oshkosh in the future. So I haven't run the car since the last video. I just got this together this afternoon, and I'm still working on the electronics, and we're actually going into Thanksgiving week. So I've got family coming in, and it's going to be busy. I've got a big design review at work that I'm supposed to be working on. So I'm going to have to put a pause on this project for about a week before I can run it. We'll see. Maybe I do something crazy and get it together and get a run in before the end of the week, but I've got a lot of other stuff I'm supposed to be working on before I play with this toy. It's not a very good segue, but that takes us into what's coming up next on the channel. And I guess I'll start with some new projects that kind of have dropped in my lap. And not that I have time for new projects, but this has the potential to be a pretty cool project, much cooler than this, if you can believe that. So I have a friend who likes toys. He's not big into RC, but he does have a couple of RCs because he has kids. But he likes cars and he likes toys. And he recently bought one of the Toyin V8 engine kits. If you haven't seen these are basically little functional nitro or gas powered V8 engine kits that you can buy. They're not cheap, and it's just an engine kit, and you can get it complete, ready to run, where it comes with all the running gear you need. So he got that just to have an engine that he could fire up and run, because they're a little 4-stroke engine. They sound cool. But he knows that I like to do custom stuff, and he wants me to build a car for him for his, basically for the engine. So to build a car around the engine, and that's kind of cool. That, but there's a lot of pressure there too, right? So I think that might be our next project after the RC5 is building a car around a Toyin V8 engine, and then we could go quarter or fifth scale. And we haven't decided on that. But we have decided on the car, and this is a car that I've always thought was cool, and there's not really, I think there's 1 or 2 people making kind of 3D printed kits that you can get, but there's not really anyone making RC versions, or at least hobby grade RC versions of this car. And this is the, it's the mid-60s era Lotus Formula cars. And these, I don't know how to describe it. It's kind of like a cigar-shaped car, open wheel design with the engine in the rear, usually open. Maybe sometimes they have fairings depending on the version of the car. But something like a Lotus 35. But I think it'd be cool to have a functional quarter fifth scale version of that car, basically centered around one of these Toyin V8 engine kits. So that, I think, is going to be our next big project. After we're going to start working on it in parallel, because I know he's going to be pushing on it. and he's already ordered the engine and it's already shipped, and so we'll probably start getting the design work on that as we're working on this guy in parallel. But that should provide some pretty interesting content for the channel. Granted, it's not an iconic car, but it would be a cool build nonetheless, I think. So yeah, there's that coming down the pipeline. If we ever get around to building one of these kits that we keep buying, that will be coming down the pipeline. And then the last thing that I'd like to bring up is the channel. So the channel has done really well this year. We've been around for about a year. We got our kind of major kickoff of the channel was actually with the Poor Boys RC Speedrun Challenge for that lunchbox build, and we did a series of videos for that. And then by the end of last year, I think we had around 200 subscribers by the end of December. And then this year we finally broke that 1,000 subscriber milestone, which has been a huge push for us. We had a really nice boost in the summer when we were doing videos of the Losi Pro Moto MX bike. That kind of went viral for us and brought in a lot of new subscribers to the channel, a lot of viewers to the channel. And then recently the RC5 project has also kind of pushed us and bumped us over that 1,000 subscriber mark. To kind of help commemorate that milestone, we're doing another giveaway, and that's what we see here in these two cars. Basically, I'm giving the option for the winner to choose between either the Losi Mini JRX-T, these are the limited runs, and this is number 66 of 5,000, or the Tamiya Volkswagen Carmagia kit. I like the idea of driving traffic to charities as part of a giveaway. So we did our last giveaway with the Losi Pro Moto MX, where we tried to help raise funds for Trey and his family's GoFundMe to help his daughter Meredith and the dog attack that she suffered. And that went well. We gave that away. And I'd like to do something similar where we try to help a charity. In the spirit of the holidays, I would like to help promote kind of holiday-based charities throughout the world. So in order for you to enter the giveaway, you will need to donate to a charity of your choice for the holidays and send me confirmation of that donation. If it's something that doesn't really have a record of receipt, I will accept a photograph of you dropping off a donation at a toy drive or food drive or whatever, but some kind of proof of some kind of donation to a holiday charity of your choice. Once I receive that proof, I will track your name in a list, and it will go into a random drawing to win the choice of one of these kits for the holidays. So starting from today, whenever this video publishes, through December 15th, anyone who donates and sends proof of that donation will be eligible for the drawing, which we will also hold on December 15th. I'm going to go ahead and open this up to worldwide. I will eat the cost on shipping internationally. I feel like there's enough viewers of the channel worldwide that we should be more inclusive of them. So we'll go ahead and include anyone and everyone that is willing to donate in an effort to enter a drawing to win one of these kits. If you have any comments or questions, please hit me up in the comments. I know I am slow to respond. I do recognize that, and I will try to do better. For me, it's kind of, my time is finite. And it's the difference between getting in the shop and working on this or sending out comments, but that's not really a good excuse. I figure if you're willing to take the time to send a comment, I should be willing to take the time to respond to the comments. So I will try to do better in responding to the comments in a more timely fashion. With that, I will close out the video. Thanks for tuning in and watching. I do appreciate it. If you are coming back to this channel, please do subscribe. It does help the channel, and it helps you when we come out with new content. The number of people that have seen one of my videos but not the others, like they're seeing the RC5 videos but like, hey, did you 3D print those tires? And I've got a video that actually shows me printing and building tires. That's a clear indicator that you're not subscribing to the channel. So subscribe and catch all of the content that we drop. Thanks for tuning in and watching, and happy holidays. Take care. Bye.